Okay. Hello, Kate. Welcome to your assessment for the unit of competency for BSB WRT 311, Write Simple Documents. Can I please see your ID?
Sure.
Kate Ward, thank you very much. So today you will be interviewed, and you must also submit the product instrument that proves you can write simple documents. The interview will take approximately 30 minutes. You may ask for more time if required. All questions must be answered satisfactorily and of sufficient description or explanation to demonstrate your understanding. At the end of the assessment, I will indicate if you are competent or not yet competent. If you're unhappy with my decision, you can appeal this. Are you ready to begin?
I am.
Okay, so tell me about the type of documents you create in your job. What are they and who are they for?
So I'm required to create various documents. An example one might be a food order to ensure there are ingredients for students to cook with during a cooking practical. It could be that I need to create a recipe for students to be able to follow in lesson. Another example might be an email that I might send to colleagues or to parents just to inform them of any changes or information that they need to be aware of.
For one of your documents, tell me how you determined your audience, purpose and requirements for the document according to organisation policies and procedures.
So in terms of a recipe, there is a template that we have established, and the audience is students, so the font needs to be very clear, correct size, and it may also include an image to help the students to present their finished dish in the way that we would like them to.
For one of your documents, tell me how you determined the required format, style and structure of the document.
So again, just in terms of a recipe page, there is a template that my colleagues and I established, and we would use that format of a recipe name, a list of ingredients, the number of serves, and the method, and perhaps the time frame in which the dish needs to be completed within.
For one of your documents, tell me how you established the correct method of communication.
So again, in discussion with my colleagues and knowing the lesson time frame and the requirements for students to achieve the recipe within that time, and then formatting to facilitate that.
For one of your documents, tell me how you established key points to be included in your document.
So in consultation with my colleagues and referring to previous examples, a recipe online or a recipe in a recipe book, we would follow that format that's been pre-established.
So when would you use procedures to communicate something and why?
An example might be if a student hasn't submitted their work, there's a procedure to follow. It's recording the non-submission on sector, and then following up with that student, and then perhaps requesting support from a head of house or a faculty coordinator to support the student to submit their work.
When would you use business letters and why?
At the commencement of a semester, we use a business letter with the school's letterhead to communicate with parents that their child has commenced a new course and what the expectations are in terms of their organisation, the submission of their work, and if there are any dietary requirements for their child.
When would you use a meeting agenda and why?
So a meeting agenda would be used perhaps at a faculty meeting to ensure that all attendees are aware of the points of discussion and to assist with managing the meeting within a timely manner.
If not covered in the above question prompts, what are 3 examples of different formats, styles and structures for documents?
example would be when we order ingredients, we use a food order template, and that uses Excel. If we are creating recipes, we would use Word for that. Templates for submission of work, there may be some scaffolding there, and we might use an example PowerPoint to be able to support students to complete the task requirements.
Thank you very much, Kate. You have answered all questions satisfactorily. Well done. Thank you. So for one of your documents, tell me how you developed the draft document to communicate key points.
So it may involve potentially having a checklist, or having like a self-editing, or having a peer review what I've written in draft format.
So how did you ensure your draft met the purpose and requirements for the document?
So I referred to the pre-established checklist, and another example would be when I've had a colleague review and then provide some feedback for me.
Did you have to obtain and include any additional required information in your draft document? If so, what was it and why?
The inclusion of some alternate ingredients. There are some students who have food allergies, so some ingredient substitutions. An example might be a gluten-free student who would use tamari instead of soy sauce.
In your workplace, there are documents that you must have a supervisor or colleague, for example, proofread before you can send them. So, sorry, in your workplace, are there any documents that you must have a supervisor or colleague proofread before you can send them?
Any communication that goes home to parents regarding an excursion as an example, or an assessment submission requirement, I would often have my supervisor, my line manager, read over it for any spelling or grammar errors and check for fluency, and then that helps with ensuring that it is correctly communicated.
What changes did you have to make to one of your documents? Discuss how you ensured those changes were correctly made, for example, that the document was checked again before it was finalised.
There was a requirement to alter the date on the letter. That was just due to some conflicts that were within the school's calendar. So there was a substitution there, and then it was double checked by my line manager to make sure the correct date was replaced on the letter.
How do you check your document for spelling, grammar and punctuation issues?
When using Word or Outlook, there is an inbuilt spelling and grammar check, and I always make sure I use that function.
What is your process for ensuring your document is readable and that the sentences, paragraph sequencing and structure of the document are correct?
So for that I follow predetermined templates and just check my work against that to ensure that it has the correct flow and all the requirements for our school.
What are 2 examples of your organisation's policy and procedures for written documents?
So any communication that is to go home, there is a pre-existing template with the school's emblem on there, and within an email there is an email signature that we are required to have at the bottom of any emails that are sent.
When would you use general emails in a work setting to communicate something and why?
So it will be used to communicate with colleagues, perhaps a student arriving a few minutes late to their lesson, and just to ensure that there is communication that it is a legitimate reason
When would you use procedures to communicate something and why?